and turn on the transcript.
Right, thank you for attending Transforming Training Through a Pandemic and Beyond, presented by Brooke Taxicus, Daniel Stevens, and Cindy Adams. Just a few housekeeping. We have transcripts on, but if you would like to turn the transcript, the closed captioning off, there should be either a live transcript CC button, or if you click more, there's a way to hide the subtitles. This session is being recorded. All chats will also be recorded, including private chats, and the recordings of the sessions will be emailed out after the conference. We will be monitoring the chat, so you can enter your questions and comments there. Please make sure that you are sending them to everyone. And so I will let you all take it away.
Awesome, thank you, Brianne, that was great. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen so you guys can see our presentation. And give me just a minute to get myself situated. All right, well, good afternoon and welcome. I hope that everyone has been enjoying the conference so far. There has been some really great sessions that I've attended, and I'm sure you all have attended some as well. And as Brianne mentioned, we're going to be talking about transforming training through a pandemic and beyond. First, I'll go ahead and let us introduce ourselves. So Cindy, would you like to start us off?
Sure, I'm Cindy Adams, and I have been at Wiggins Library for almost 9 years now. I'm the circulation manager and help hire, train, and supervise our student assistants. I'll turn it over to you.
I am Daniel Stevens. I'm Daniel Stevens. I am currently the nights and weekends circulation assistant. And in just under 3 months, I will have my MOS from North Carolina Central University.
Yay, so exciting there. And I am Brooke Taxicus, reference and instruction librarian and reference student worker supervisor. And we are all from Campbell University. And today, like I said, we'll be talking about the student workers and how we've transformed our training program. From the first slide here, you can see that we've got a URL to our presentation as well as our resources. I will put that link there in the chat. Feel free to follow along with us if you would like. And we are going to go ahead and get started. Before we start, I will make a quick note that all of our photos in this presentation are back when we were having fun, pre-COVID. So there's no face masks here, there's no plexiglass, there's no social distancing in any of these photos. So back in the good old days, right? All right. So now that you've heard a little bit about us, we'd love to hear about you guys and who our audience is. So we would love for you, if you wanted to put in the chat or if you want to unmute yourself, to tell us if you work with student workers, and if you do, have you helped train these student workers? And we did chat a little bit before we got started where everyone was from, but if you want to also put in the chat where you're from, that would be nice as well, so we can see where we're all from today. Okay, Gainesville, Georgia, awesome. And let us know if you work with student workers in any capacity, or if you've helped train student workers. We'd love to hear that as well. Another Georgia, Tennessee, okay. Gainesville, great. Okay, so you've got your staff that supervises several student workers, great. Okay, and that's okay, Brianne, that you don't work with student workers, that's okay. Great, thank you for sharing, Katie. Oh wow, we have someone from Oklahoma, awesome. And you help train GAs, student workers and GAs, great. Great, and Sam, you research and outreach and instruction, awesome. Very good, very good. Well, it looks like we're kind of all from different backgrounds, and that's great. We are gonna be sharing a lot about some of our training that we have done. Even if you don't directly train student workers, we hope that you'll learn some practices here that maybe you would be able to take with staff training or share with those that do work with students in your departments. So our agenda today, we have broken our presentation up into 4 sections. So we're going to tell you a little bit about Campbell and about our library, which is Wiggins Memorial Library. Then we're going to jump into our student worker training, and we're going to talk about what it looked like in 2018, what we looked like in 2019, and where we currently stand with our training in 2020 in the pandemic world that we're in. We'll also share with you some of our highs and lows of our training. You know, we'll share what's gone well, some challenges we faced, and what our plans are moving forward. And lastly, we will take some questions, and we'll also open the floor up to hear from some of you who are training student workers currently and working with them, and hearing what some of the things that you've been doing, or if you'll be able to use any of the things that we've been talking about today with your training. And Daniel and I will spend, like I said, a few minutes giving you a little background about Campbell University and Wiggins Library. And Daniel's actually going to kick us off by talking a little bit about Campbell's history.
So founded in 1887 as Buies Creek Academy, Campbell University is a private institution with Baptist roots. Campbell currently has approximately 6,000 students enrolled across their undergraduate and graduate programs. Campbell's main campus is in Buies Creek, which is about 30 minutes south of Raleigh. The university's mission is to graduate students with exemplary academic and professional skills who are prepared for purposeful lives and meaningful service. By employing student workers, we're not only giving them an opportunity to earn extra money, but we are helping them build their professional skills.
And Wiggins Library is essentially located on what we call Academic Circle, which you can see from this bottom picture here. The library is this building right here, to kind of put it in perspective for you. And then the top picture is our close-up of our building. And a fun fact is that we are connected to Kivett, which is the oldest building on campus, and it houses some of our library stacks as well as some of our study space in this building. So pre-pandemic, we had about 45 to 50 student workers in the library. Currently, we are down to about 25 to 30. And this is partially due to budget constraints, but it's also due to the pandemic precautions, right? So we have reduced the amount of student workers to 1 per service desk per shift. So we've had to decrease the number of student workers we can hire. We also see a decrease in our numbers of graduate assistants, which I'll be referring to as GAs from now on. In 2018, 2019, we had 4 GAs, and currently we have 3 GAs. And this is mostly due to budget cuts, not necessarily COVID related. These pictures here highlight the library and just show you different areas of our library. The top picture are the globes and the second floor space, which serves as our overnight study area. And the bottom picture shows our periodicals room, which is located on the first floor. And this is our entry or our walkway into Kivett, where those some of our stacks and study rooms are. So currently we have 5 areas that employ student workers. 2 of those are in circulation and in reference. Our circulation student workers assist patrons and help to reshelve materials, and they do inventory of library items. Our reference student workers, they assist at the research assistance desk by answering basic reference questions. And you can kind of see in this first picture up against the green wall here, this is our first floor of the library, and this green wall, we have a desk here that, again, pre-COVID, so we have a librarian sitting here. Now we actually have a virtual setup, and we have a computer that's there that has a camera that faces out to the library, and we use Blackboard Collaborate, and we encourage students to sit down and chat with a librarian who may be working in the building or working off campus, but we help them virtually. And then across the way, you can kind of see a desk right here. That's our circulation desk. So we're within eye shot of both desks here. And then the middle picture here is a close-up of our research assistance desk. And the bottom picture here is showing Gaylord, our university mascot, checking out his library books. Okay, the other 3 areas that employ student workers are our Curriculums, Materials, and Media Center, which is CMMC for short. And here our student workers assist patrons and help reshelve materials and do inventory of library items for that area for the CMMC. Our technical service student, they assist in scanning materials for digital archives along with other tasks. And then our graphic design student, helps to create marketing material for the library, and just does a handful of things. And there's actually this picture here at the bottom, the Washroom Word is a newsletter that we put out monthly. We actually have it in the stalls of our bathroom, and we highlight things that are going on in the library and around campus, and the graphic design student worker helps with that. It kind of takes the lead on that project. So that's a great thing for them. And then the top picture here shows one of our librarians and one of our past CMMC student workers. And this is the desk that they would sit at typically. And then that room in the back that you can hardly see, that's our computer lab, and that's where our library instruction classes are held. And then, so now that you've gotten to know a little bit about our areas and what student workers do in those areas, here's kind of the breakdown of who supervises what students and how many we have in each department. So our circulation has 3 supervisors, and 2 of them are here with us today. We have 2 GAs, and we have 1 staff member, and they help to oversee the training and day-to-day operations of 15 to 20 student workers. Reference has 1 supervisor, that's me, and 6 librarians that help to oversee the training of our 7 to 10 student workers. And then the CMMC has 1 supervisor and a GA who helps oversee the training and the day-to-day operations. And they typically have about 4 to 8 student workers. Technical service has 1 supervisor, and they usually have 2 student workers. And our graphic design has 1 supervisor and 1 student worker that works for them. So now that you know a little bit more about Wiggins Library and how we're structured, we're going to dive right into our training and how our training has been set up and how it looked in 2018, how we did some changes and moved to 2019, and then we'll talk about where we are now with 2020 and the pandemic. So in 2018, we did in-person orientation with our student workers. We also had a checklist that we created that had all of the base level training tasks listed there. Before 2018, we were using the Campbell University's learning management system, Blackboard, and we were using this in 2018 to house all of the handouts and worksheets. We kind of treated it like a course, and it was an organization we created called My Library Job. And students would go in there for their different departments, see their worksheets and handouts, and they would go ahead and work their way through that checklist. So they'd get all their handouts there. Then we also created a Know Your Library research guide. And this was created prior to 2018, but we were using it pretty heavily with our training at this point. And again, this was just like we would create a research guide for a class. It's kind of like the one-stop shopping. So they would have all of the resources that they would need to do their job. If they get asked questions, they can certainly go to this research guide and find some information here. So let me go ahead and click on this base level training to show you what that looked like for us. So in 2018, again, this is the checklist that was created. And you can kind of see the tasks are listed here onto the left side. There is a column here for the student to write their initials from when they completed it, and then for their supervisor to initial when they are finished with it. So for example, in reference, it could be me that signs off on it if I'm working with a student worker, or it could be another librarian who happens to see that this is a new student worker they're working with, and they will help them go through the training checklist and help them with completing some of their exercises. But you can see, I mean, it's a little lengthy, it's 3 pages, and there's a lot of different tasks here that we would have our students go through, like phone etiquette, library website, student worker guide, scavenger hunt. And we even tell them that it's a scavenger hunt worksheet in Blackboard. So this is what you're looking for in Blackboard. And then going back to the presentation slide here, the Know Your Library research guide that I mentioned, that looks a little bit like this. And we've got some basic library information here for them. Then as you move through the tabs, you can see that there's some specific training material. Depending on which department they work in, they would find specific training stuff for that department. So reference, we also had some Campbell information, so just, information that, because we all know in the library we're often the first place people go and they don't really know where they need to be on campus. So we wanted to make sure our students had the resources available to them so that they could direct people to the right places as well. All right, so let me head back to the PowerPoint here. And so that was 2018. So 2019 looked a little bit different. We had the introduction of rotating stations, which we called it the boot camp. We actually got this idea from Wake Forest. They had this great setup for their student worker training. It was called boot camp. And it combines in-person orientation with training. And I'll go into the more detail on the next slide about our boot camp. And then lastly, right now, currently, what we're doing is very different from 2018 and 2019. And we have shifted all of our training to virtual training and have converted that to a research guide. And Daniel's actually going to get into that in just a few minutes. So I'm not going to steal his thunder. I'll let him share that news with you. So let's take a look a little bit at this 2019 boot camp and what this really looked like. So you might recall that 2018 checklist that I showed you is 3 pages long. It was all the different tasks. So what we did the summer prior to fall 2019 is we actually spent, the supervisor's team, spent a good part of our time looking at that checklist and figuring out what could be chunked together, what services kind of can we lump together and kind of condense this a little bit. And so here you can kind of see this, we had 4 stations that we came up with, and on the right-hand side, you can see the topics that each of these stations would cover. And each station was manned or staffed by a graduate assistant and a department supervisor. And so the tasks that were on that long checklist, when broken down into 4 sections, really didn't seem that bad. But yeah, and the work was done over the summer. So the GAs didn't really have a whole lot of help with creating the material for these different stations. But they certainly helped with the supervisor with running that station and walking the student workers through these exercises. And a lot of this, since we were using these things, these topics in our past or in our previous training, we weren't really recreating too much material. We were just restructuring how it was being delivered to the students. And this was now being done in person. And this boot camp was actually done. I'll take you to the schedule and show you what that looked like. But that was on a Saturday. It was the Saturday after classes began. So hopefully students weren't too homesick yet and they weren't making trips to go home. And we did it from 9:30 until noon. And we all have heard the 3 F's of event, right? We need to have free food, you need to have it be fun, and you have to have a freebie, like a giveaway. So we included those things in our event for our student workers. We included breakfast. So we fed them donuts and fruit salad. Our dean welcomed them. We did icebreakers, and we had the station rotations in 20-minute increments, and they rotated through those. They had a break, and then we did a wrap up where they got to tell us their thought. They had a survey they filled out, and they told us, since this was our first time doing this boot camp, we wanted to hear, hey, did you like it? What did you think? And we gave them a t-shirt, because who doesn't love a t-shirt? So yeah, that was our breakdown. So let me, so yeah, we really had a great turnout for our 2019 boot camp. We really liked it. The students gave us positive feedback, and we were excited. We were going to do this again in 2020, and then we all know what happened. So, so we didn't get to continue this boot camp in 2019 or in 2020. Instead, we did virtual, and I'm going to turn it over to Daniel, and he's going to talk to you about our virtual training.
So in summer of 2020, when the world started to realize that COVID wasn't just going to go away, we started talking about how we would be able to train incoming workers while still being socially distant, and discuss the idea of everything being virtual. We used several tools to round out our virtual training, and I will go into detail about each one. The first one was Blackboard. While we are no longer housing our training materials in Blackboard, it is still being used for some basic communication with student workers. We have discussion boards so that students can post when they will miss shifts. We put student information like phone numbers and emails with their permission so they can communicate about switching shifts with each other. And we do have the link to the training research guide here so they can easily navigate to it. The next tool is Google Slides, and they are being used to share information that student workers need to know, such as introducing our graduate assistants, customer service information, and COVID policies and procedures that we had to put into place. There's an in-house design template that we use in order to ensure consistency across our slides. We also used Google Forms to create quizzes to test student workers on where to find information in various locations, or what information was covered in the training videos and slides to test what they should have learned. Once the student workers have notified the GA or graduate assistant that they have finished the training, the supervisors are able to go into the responses for the forms and provide individual feedback. Forms also allows the creator to provide correct or incorrect answer feedback directly into the form, and can also auto grade the quizzes, but sometimes need check behind. So this is one of the forms that we have created. And this is a form that we used for one of our scavenger hunts. So you can actually show individual feedback if it's a wrong answer. And just below, you can actually have it auto grade what the correct answers are.
And sometimes if they don't put the right answer in exactly how you've provided the answers, it will mark it wrong, which is why it's great to give that individual feedback. Because we were able to say, yes, you had it right, but you just, they didn't type it in exactly the way that we had typed it in. So, and then you can change the point scores too, so that the student can get that immediate feedback.
And then we also did some training videos like customer service etiquette and FERPA. They were used in previous years and we simply embedded them into our training. We also created new videos like how to clock in and out, troubleshooting printing in color, and staff introductions. We also created a virtual tour of the library using H5P. And we'll actually show you what that looks like. So H5P allows you to create pretty much a slideshow, but it's interactive. You can click on information buttons within the slide, and it actually pulls up extra information that you can input into the slide. You can also include videos into the slides to incorporate actual information being told to them. And checklists. The first checklist we have here is one I created for the student workers to fill out as they went through the virtual training. And this allowed them to be in control of their training. The second list is a spreadsheet our graduate assistant created to track the completion of virtual training. The GA then shared this information with the various supervisors. Now, we initially thought about housing all of these things in Blackboard, but found that it wouldn't be as easy to use. And that is when I came up with the idea of creating a research guide. When our returning students came back, we had them go through the training, and then adjustments were made based on feedback. Then as new students were hired, we started them on our virtual training. And we'll take you into the training guide. So it opens right to the base level training, but it also has tabs for advanced training in specific departments. So once they finish the base level training, they can go on to their specific department and continue learning more about what they need to do on their job. Also on the base level training, there is the welcome, which houses the checklist. Johnny was our student worker liaison for the year and worked on keeping track of the training progress for our student workers. Within the base level training, it was broken up into sections based on the boot camp stations that Brooke had mentioned earlier. So library tour and staff, and the printing and scanning, There was actually a video here that we created in the printing and scanning for troubleshooting from the computer. There's also the service desk section of the training, which you can see there are Google Forms within both the service desk and the customer service forms. There's the customer service tab. And then there's also a COVID section that we hope will be going away soon to reduce the amount of information that's on there. So next we will share the ups and downs and how we want to move forward with our student worker training. Now that our students were all going through the same training, the consistency of what the students were learning and our outcomes were a nice change to the beginning of the school year. With everything on the backside being housed in Google, it was easier to filter through the answered forms and provide feedback to the student workers through the form in a timely manner. And it was all virtually distanced. With the opening of the library during the pandemic, the circulation department had to take on extra responsibilities, sanitizing high traffic areas, restocking PPE kits, patron counts, and locking and unlocking study rooms to ensure our students were safe. Our student workers did well with understanding what these additional tasks entailed, and it was a pretty easy transition into those tasks becoming a part of the everyday routine. Shifting our training to be virtual allowed us to be socially distanced to the guidelines set in place by Campbell University and by the CDC. This shift also allowed us to reduce the amount of materials we printed out for the student workers and for ourselves. And we were also able to start the process of creating department-specific training material that we could separate from the base level training.
So we had good things happening with our virtual training, but just like everything else that we do, there are some challenges that we also face. Communication was certainly a challenge for us, challenging amongst the supervisors as well as with our GA. So we started creating once a month meetings, and that seemed to really help get everybody on the same page and have that consistency that were lacking before. Our virtual orientation attendance was lower than our in-person orientation that we saw in 2019. And this perhaps could be Zoom fatigue. You know, we know that this is a thing now, and students are getting very tired and not participating as much in Zoom. The additional tasks that Daniel previously mentioned, like sanitizing the high traffic areas, our patron counts, et cetera, these actually kept the students away from the desk, because remember, we're only having one student per service desk. And so it was keeping the student away from the desk. And also because the student workers were busy with these new COVID related tasks, our usual tasks like inventory and shelf reading took the back burner. Something else that we faced with the new virtual training was figuring out how to give students that timely feedback that Daniel showed in that Google form. Once we were able to figure out that workflow, as well as how the GA can help us by tracking the training as well, using his checklist and communicate with the supervisors who's done what, it really made a nice workflow for us. The GA created that Excel sheet, which helped us with that. And then the Google Forms, as we showed you, helps us look at individual responses and give that feedback one-on-one to students. So that was really, really helpful for us. So the timely feedback was a challenge at first, but we managed to work through that. Moving forward, so some of the things that we want to do moving ahead and looking ahead is we started cross-training our student workers in 2019 and had hoped to do more in 2020. So we're hoping to increase that this coming year. And this is where we can kind of have students work in other departments across the library. So we're really hoping we can do that this year. We've also been really focused on our new student worker training model for the past several years. As you can see from 2018, 19, and 20, how this has all changed, that we really like to find ways to enhance our training for our returning student workers. Our returning student workers have always just kind of helped us with that new training, and it was a good refresher for them to go through all of the training material, because they could give us good feedback and they could tell us what we're missing. but we do moving forward want to look at ways to where our returning students aren't getting the exact same training all the time. And despite the low attendance of virtual orientation, we would like to continue considering this as an option moving forward. There are many benefits, of course, to having this virtual orientation, recording it, and then also those who are not on campus can still attend this orientation. And we certainly would love to continue using our virtual training model. In fact, we're looking at making some revisions this summer with the layout, and hoping that our current COVID tasks like cleaning and patron counts won't be around for too much longer, and we can focus back on our pre-COVID tasks like our shelf reading and inventory.
As you can see here from these quotes from our student workers who gave us feedback on our training, both our returning student workers and new student workers had positive things to say about it.
I liked how the returning student said that it was a good refresher for them. And the new student, I liked how they said it was a good experience for them. Those were two words that popped out, or phrases that popped out for me. All right, well, that takes us to our questions and feedback. We'll open the floor up to, if you want to unmute yourself, or if you want to put in the chat if you've got any questions for us. We'd love to answer those. And also, if you want, while the floor is open, tell us maybe what some of your experiences have been with training student workers during a pandemic. And for those of you who aren't necessarily working with student workers, maybe there are some things that you've heard here that you want to take back to others, or maybe those that are working with student workers, you've heard something today that you're like, oh yes, I really want to do that. We'd love to hear that. We'd love to hear if there's anything that you have takeaways, and we'd also love to hear from you. So please, we have plenty of time. We'd love to hear from you all. Yeah, thanks, Amanda. The centralized training has certainly been huge for us. It took us a little while to get there, but we're there now, and we also really like it a lot.
Especially when there are so many different people that kind of have their hands in the training of these student workers, having the same information going into each individual's head kind of helps.
Yeah, there's
it looks
so
like
many
Austin.
details. Sorry. There's just so many details for them to pick up that really helps. And having them have a place to go back to remind them of things, you know.
Absolutely. And Austina, I think you had your hand raised. If you want to go ahead and either.
Yeah. I apologize if you covered this. I got interrupted, and so I missed a bit. But can you talk a little bit about your hiring process? Because our hiring process is often one of our biggest obstacles to doing cohesive training at the same time, because we have to go through our HR department, and it's very difficult. I'll just be kind and say it's just difficult. So.
We're with you.
Yeah, we hear you. We are with you 100% on that. And the only thing I can say that has helped us is we have a centralized Google folder for the supervisors. And within that folder, we have a hiring folder, we have a training folder, we have an interviewing folder so that we can put our questions that we're going to ask during interviews there. And in that hiring folder, we have the checklist from the HR, because it changes, it seems like every year, what they need. So we have a checklist in there that we've updated that shows exactly what we need. We do have our head of access services who kind of oversees all of that. But definitely as a supervisor, we need to know these hiring processes. And so again, this is like that communication and getting us all on the same page that has really helped. And having that Google folder and centralizing everything so that we all have access to it, no matter when we're hiring, because we hire at all different times, So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. And that's helpful to know, because in my mind, I was thinking, oh, you get them all at the exact same time and you do this like synchronistically, but it sounds like you do it as they come. And that's fair enough.
Yeah,
I dream of a perfect world where they can all start on the first day of classes or come a few days early and we have a big group training. But I know that's, you know.
It does tend to work out where we have most of them come at the same time. Campbell also recently went to a system, it's called CU Hired. So where we used to get dozens of students coming up to the CERC desk and asking for paper applications, they now have to do it online, and we all have access to that and we go through it. And they do, once they come see us and we decide we want to hire them, they do all have to go over to HR. HR, of course, is processing students for the whole campus, but they do know how important it is to get them on board quickly. So at the beginning of the year, they do try to rush things, but it does take time. It's quite a process. The first couple of weeks of the semester are usually kind of hairy, you know.
yes, they are. And we typically hire the most at the the beginning of the fall semester. So that's where this, the orientation really came into place there, and it really worked well. We did do this past year, we did like a fall orientation for just our returning student workers, because they were going to be coming back to the whole new library with COVID policies and all of this stuff. And then in the spring, this past spring, we did all student workers. So all the ones that we had hired in the fall, as well as our returning student workers, we did an inclusive orientation for all of them. And I'm going to share my screen one more time. I've pulled up that supervisor folder I was telling you about, just so you can kind of see the layout of things. I don't think there's anything too, but we're sensitive here that I can share. So you can see we've got like our different folders, like hiring and interviewing, job descriptions, our student worker budget. So our hiring folder basically just kind of has that checklist for staff and our sample job. So when we offer a job to a student worker, here's the email that we'll send out. And then the permission that we ask for students to share their information, I think is what this is here. But yeah, and then we have a list of all of the students who've completed and have gotten their cleared from their HR, so that we can all see, okay, so-and-so from my department's been cleared, he can start work now. But here's the hiring checklist for staff that we updated with the new policies from HR. So this is just something that we're all on the same page with all of this, and it's something that we've got links to the different forms and paperwork and all of that. And I think it's really helped us to get a better understanding of how the world of HR works.
Do you guys do like phone screening, or do you do like formal interviews?
I was just going to jump in and actually say, I wasn't sure if this was relevant to anybody, but I do like to sit down with the student, at least for 10 minutes and talk to them and get to know them a little bit and see where they're coming from and what they want to get out of the job. And even this past year with the pandemic, we were able to do most of the interviews in person, sat socially distanced in the office and both of us masked. So I don't think we had any problems with that. But yeah, I do like to do an in-person interview.
And then I was working as a librarian. We're working some on campus and some from home. So my availability of being in the building to do an in-person interview wasn't that great. So I actually did some of my interviews through Zoom or WebEx or whatever, and it worked really well. But I would echo what Cindy said about we really feel that there's value in interviewing the students, especially since we're trying to help the Campbell's mission with giving them professional skills, and we want this to feel like a real job as much as possible. So going through all of the steps, like we even do an evaluation at the end of the semester where we sit down with them and go over our forms and things with them. So they kind of just get a feel for a real job and the things that they're going to see in the real world. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was great questions. Thank you. Does anyone else have any, what kinds of things do you guys do for training? And I saw someone post in the chat that they don't have student workers on campus right now due to COVID. But I'm wondering if those that do have student workers, how have you changed your training a little bit to accommodate?
Yeah, this is Velapan again from Faith State. We do have some students for last fall and this spring after the pandemic, so we we used to have 25 to 30 students. Yeah, and we all open second floor, third floor, all the main stacks, everything. Now everything closed. So only staff can access books and everything. So we open only first floor for public and students and everybody. So we do have some students in the reference area. They do help the cleaning the computers and filling the printer papers and helping some basic questions to the students. Yeah, so that's very few students. And we used to have the orientation from financial aid office. Once they get approved, then we got the library secretary. So she will contact the student. She also have a booth over there when they have orientation. So she talked to the student one-on-one, maybe 10 minutes. Before she talked to the students, so we let the library secretary know that how many students we need. And the head of access services, we know how many students need for circulation, and same thing for reference, archives, sometimes government documents and periodicals. We hire some students, usually typically 25 to 30. But we do our secretary, she want to talk with over the phone for at least for 10 minutes to talk to them. Mostly we hire returning students, so we don't have to train them. They already got trained everything, so we don't need to give more training. But like you said, we have some method of trainings like Google Forms. We used to have a hard copies. Now we are using Google Forms and some online training as well. We have the computer for students. They can take online tests. So once they get to pass the test, then they're okay to start the work. Yeah, these are some methods. And I love the idea you got the centralized training and all the documents in one place. I think it's really cool. Yeah, maybe we can adopt to that our university too. Yeah, maybe I can talk to my staff member. She's a student service coordinator. She always supervise all the student workers giving training. Maybe I can definitely let her know that. Keep everything in one place. It's easy to whoever comes, they can take the stuff from the folder. I think. Nice.
Exactly.
That
And that's,
sounds like a full-time job for her in normal times. I mean,
yeah.
I know. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. That's what we liked about Blackboard, was that it centralized all of our training, with our library job organization. But as Daniel said, it was a lot, because my brain when we were coming up with this virtual was, why don't we just put everything in Blackboard and have them work through it? And he's like, well, it just doesn't look as nice and it doesn't flow. And so we started creating that research guide, and it really does, it flows and it looks nice. Like I said, we are looking at some other options for layout purposes and like doing different tabs and just playing around a little bit with that layout. But yeah, that was a big thing for us, was having one place where the students could go to get all of their training. And because some of us were working in the building, some were working from home, we really needed a way to see these training forms. I wasn't going to be here to see my student workers, so how could I review their work if it was hard copy? So for us, going to that Google Forms was huge. And I know that's something that we're definitely going to take with us moving forward, because it allows, again, that instant feedback as well. And I don't have to be here in the building to see it. So that was great. And I'm glad to hear that you're a person that you guys have already done that. That's great.
That's great. I also like the research guide. We don't have the research guide. I think probably we can create one for student workers training. That will be helpful. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
It's definitely easy to use, easy to embed the Google things, and utilizing all of Google's tools
Right. Yeah.
is really easy. And if you don't know how to use it, you can go onto YouTube and you can find just about any YouTube video to help you show the basics of that and go from there. And it's easy to use.
That's great. Thank you.
One of the things I'm planning this summer, we use Microsoft Teams on our campus a lot. And I have student workers at 4 different campuses. And so I'm hoping to build a class inside D2L, but then sort of day-to-day operational, it's been great for me because we've been in facility, but my students have a cubicle in the back, and they can say like, hey, I'm here. They just send me a quick chat so that they can feel like they've checked in, but they don't have to look for me. And I anticipate doing that even when we sort of resume, whatever our new normal is. So.
Oh, Lily, you put a question in there about sharing our documents with Creative Commons. We have not done that just yet. And that's a good thing to think about. But you guys are welcome to anything that we have shared, our PowerPoint and our LibGuide. Please feel free to use that. And I hope that it helps. Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. I put those links here in the chat. The Know Your Library link is the second one, and the first link was that training guide. And we're also this summer going to kind of revise that Know Your Library research guide, because the intention of that was more for training purposes. But now that we have our new training guide, there's a little bit of overlap, and it's kind of a mess right now. So we are, again, this summer going to be spending some time revamping and restructuring, reorganizing, and, you know, do those fun things. And Velpin, you were talking about your librarian, how she does the on-campus, talks to the student workers when they come to apply. I think that's kind of like, Campbell actually just started doing some sort of on-campus job fair. And so, again, you know, with COVID, we didn't really get a good sense of how that job fair is going to go, but I'm excited for that opportunity and hope that we can do some more like on-spot hiring there, and interview and kind of talk to students and take applications there. I think that would be really, really exciting for us.
Yeah, I think that works, you know, when the pandemic's over, that's a great thing. You know, you can talk to the students one-on-one, you know, and
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
you know, talk to them what they need to know and what they want, you know. That's
Yeah.
a great idea, you know, from the students.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I will share the link to our resources one last time in the chat, so that if you want to get to our folder and our slides and some of the other documents, you're welcome to borrow and use. And that's the great, you know, we're librarians, we like to share information. We don't want to make you have to recreate the wheel. So we would love to see you use some of our stuff, you know, because we were kind of creating this from scratch. Obviously, as a lot of us were kind of scrambling and making things up as we went along, because no one had faced a pandemic before. So we had to think about our training and what that was going to look like. So please use, and hopefully it'll make your lives a little easier like it did ours. And I think we have some time for some more questions, or if anyone wants to share anything else. Oh, you're welcome, Lily. Thank you. Thank you. And this is a good time to say just thanks again for all of you for coming and listening to our presentation and sharing your own thoughts and sharing about you. We really appreciate hearing from you. And please feel free to reach out to us, email any of us. Our emails were in that PowerPoint on several different slides. We'd be more than happy to talk to any of you more in detail. If you've got further questions, feel free to reach out to us. Absolutely.
Yes, thank you all for coming. It's good to see you all here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for your presentation.
Yeah, thank you, Brooke, Cindy, and Daniel. It's a nice presentation. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. You guys did well facilitating us, so we appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording if that's okay.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Patrice.